Have you ever noticed that you just don't care about reality TV while everyone else is hooked on dating shows, competitions, and chaotic arguments? You feel strangely disconnected. You're not trying to be different. But something about the drama, the noise, the inauthenticity that it just doesn't sit right. Psychology says that feeling isn't random. It reveals something deeper about your emotional sensitivity, your cognitive wiring, and the way you protect your inner world. Let's unpack the real psychology of people who quietly turn away from reality TV and what that says about the way their mind truly works. That there's a certain kind of person who quietly disconnects from the noise of the culture around them, not because they're cold, not because they think they're better, but because something about that noise, the spectacle, the conflict, the curated emotions feels strangely foreign. Maybe you've felt it too. The group chat lights up with commentary about last night's reality TV episode. The arguments, the alliances, the outbursts. You smile, nod, maybe even pretend to know what happened. But deep down, you wonder why none of it feels real or worth engaging in. You're not alone in this quiet disconnection. In fact, it says something about how your mind and your emotional world are built. Because when someone isn't drawn to reality TV, it's rarely about boredom or snobbery. It's usually about something much quieter, much deeper, a form of psychological clarity that doesn't always have the right words. But we're going to try and find them. Some minds don't crave entertainment for escape, they crave it for expansion. They seek stories that challenge them, narratives with depth, arcs that unfold slowly. Psychologists call this a high need for cognition. It's not about intellect, it's about stimulation. Their mind isn't content to passively receive. It wants to wrestle, decode, connect dots. Reality TV, designed for emotional immediacy, doesn't offer that. It thrives on reaction, not reflection, on spectacle, not structure. When you have this kind of mind, your brain is actively looking for something to track. Complex character development, philosophical questions embedded in plot, moral dilemmas that don't have easy answers. Reality shows typically can't offer this analytical demand. They rely on emotional reactivity, on staged or semi staged interpersonal conflicts rather than narrative complexity. So when these cognitive people sit down to watch television, they're not looking for drama, they're looking for puzzles. They want protagonists to struggle through meaningful obstacles where resolutions feel earned. And when that challenge isn't there, their brain doesn't just get bored, it gets restless, like a muscle that showed up to lift weights and found only air. But there's another layer to this disconnection, one that's less about cognition and more about sensing. For highly sensitive people, conflict isn't fun, it's overwhelming. Raised voices, passive aggressive comments, dramatic music cues. It all feels like a nervous system overload. They don't flinch because they're weak. They flinch because their empathy is tuned too high for casual consumption of chaos. They've known what it's like to walk on eggshells, to feel tension in the room, to be pulled into relational dynamics that hurt more than they heal. So, why would they choose to watch more of it, even scripted? Drama doesn't feel entertaining when you've already lived through enough of it. It feels familiar in the worst way. And then there's the awareness. Even when reality TV claims to be real, something feels off. They sense the cameras, the cuts, the cues. They pick up on the way people perform themselves, how authenticity is edited into a storyline. It's not judgmental, it's just emotionally unsettling to witness. They can't not notice when someone is faking it. Even a forced laugh or a rehearsed vulnerability makes their body pull back. Research reveals that reality television is far from real. Participants present calculated versions of themselves, and producers manipulate events to manufacture conflict. People who avoid reality TV recognize this fundamental deception and make a values based choice to opt out. They're aware that what they're watching isn't authentic human interaction, but a carefully constructed narrative designed to maximize engagement. This awareness isn't snobbery, it's a reflection of what they value. Some people don't find entertainment in watching others suffer, fight, or unravel. To them, it feels wrong to turn someone else's pain, even if staged, into background noise for dinner. They value dignity, emotional honesty, psychological safety. So when they turn away from reality TV, it's not because they don't get it, it's because they do. Where most people see entertainment, they see psychological patterns, how producers set up reward cycles, how contestants play into archetypes, how viewers are trained to root for humiliation or conflict. They can see the machine. And once you see the machine, it's hard to enjoy the show. Their mind isn't bored, it's too awake. They notice something else too, the way these shows manipulate behavior and psychology on both sides of the screen. They understand social comparison theory, where people constantly measure their worth against others' highlight reels. They recognize observational learning, where viewers imitate behaviors they see on screen. They know that reality shows distort people's perception of normal social interaction and can normalize behaviors that would be unacceptable in real contexts. When someone becomes aware of these mechanisms, consuming reality television starts to feel like voluntary participation in psychological manipulation. Research shows that people who watched reality television had above average trait motivation to feel self important and vindicated. Non reality TV watchers likely have lower motivation toward those gratification seeking impulses. They've recognized that comparing themselves to constructed personas and artificial drama isn't a path to genuine confidence or satisfaction. Their awareness acts as a protective filter. For many, avoiding reality TV is an act of quiet self care, not a boycott, a boundary. They understand how easily media seeps in, how comparison becomes reflex, how emotional chaos on screen subtly echoes in the mind. Watching reality shows can harm confidence as viewers compare themselves to more successful or attractive individuals on screen. While there's some research suggesting it can boost confidence through downward comparison, the net effect for many people is psychological strain. So they choose peace, they choose quiet. And in doing so, they're not escaping culture, they're curating it. They treat their attention like a resource because it is. They know that what they consume becomes part of their emotional vocabulary. So they choose carefully, not to avoid the world, but to meet it on their own terms. These people gravitate toward content that gives something back, stories that open the heart, films that move slowly and quietly toward something meaningful. Even silence feels richer than staged chaos. They're not looking to be shocked, they're looking to be seen. Give them a slow burn film with unresolved tension over a shouting match. Give them poetry over spectacle. Give them character evolution over character exposure. They're not interested in who's fighting this week. They're wondering who's growing and how. It's not just what's said, it's the subtext, and reality TV is full of it. Where others see simple entertainment, they see layers of morality, of manipulation, of meaning. They're not impressed by volume, they're moved by meaning. Let's reframe this trait, not as disinterest, but as discernment. Somewhere along the way, they learned that not all emotions deserve a seat at the table, that chaos is not a prerequisite for connection, that peace is not boring, it's healing. Avoiding emotional chaos isn't weakness, it's wisdom. This sensitivity extends beyond a screen. It shapes how they love, how they listen, how they live. They can tell when something is emotionally manipulative, and they pull back, not out of fear, but out of self respect. They understand how media affects the mind, how constant exposure to conflict, beauty standards, and toxic social norms can shift a person's baseline. So they curate their world with intention. Their disinterest in reality TV is not a rejection of entertainment. It's an invitation to connect with something more real inside themselves. In a world that rewards spectacle, choosing subtlety is an act of rebellion. In a culture built on noise, preferring quiet becomes a kind of strength. You are not odd for feeling disconnected from what most people enjoy. You are not broken for preferring slow to fast, real to loud, depth to drama. Your preferences are a reflection of your inner world, not a flaw in it. You are allowed to choose what enters your mind, to protect your sensitivity, to consume content that leaves you better, not emptier. You are not missing out. You are tuning in to yourself, to your peace, to your pace, to your values. There's nothing wrong with choosing depth over distraction. There's nothing broken about disliking drama. There's nothing strange about seeing through the surface. If anything, it means you've grown, and in a world addicted to chaos, that kind of clarity is a gift.